This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's episode of Two Bad Hombres is brought to you by The Athletic. Premium coverage for passionate Detroit sports fans. Listeners of Two Bad Hombres can save 30% off the first year of an annual subscription by going and visiting theathletic.com/DSP. All the hosts here on the network, we read The Athletic every single day. Become a member of a growing Detroit sports community. Subscribe and save 30% off, Vito. You can save 30% off and read great Detroit sports content. All you got to do is go visit theathletic.com/DSP.
I was trying to get it, I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get flat. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. Get it, get flat. I got 6
And we are still not tired on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Churko, alongside my usual sidekick and broadcast partner in fun. That is the Doc from Doc and Jack, John Charles McElroon. John, how are you doing?
Vito, you know we implemented the voicemail. You know it's fun to check into the voicemail to hear what our supporters will say about Michigan, the Tigers, Michigan State, the Detroit Lions, but it's sometimes funny to get a voicemail that's just directed towards one of us, and so I peeked in and I got this voicemail. It was really interesting, and so we'll start by talking about your fantasy football team. It is a fantasy football related question. This individual wanted to ask you a specific question regarding a specific player, so I'll play it for you, and you can definitely address your guy here.
Hey, Vito, this is Don Rana coming at you live from Nashville, Tennessee. Just calling to see what your thoughts are on Patrick Mahomes. Is he a perennial all-star, or is he going to be the biggest bust of the century? Get back to me, big guy. Tell Bobby I say hi.
Oh, man, that was funny because of the fact that I know the guy, and I know why he's saying, like, Bobby at the end, too. Like, say hi to Bobby. There's this guy that we used to talk about named Bobby and whatnot, of a father of a friend. So Nick Schmiegel and Dominic, this is Dominic Reyna. I always say his last name wrong. Call him Dom Rana. I think that's how he introduced himself, by the way. And he is from Nashville. He's actually from Nashville. So funny about Patrick Mahomes, and the reason why he brought him up, too, is because I tried to trade for Patrick Mahomes last week before he had a 6-touchdown performance on Sunday against the Steelers. So now that's not going to happen. And you know what? I knew he would call in. I didn't know it was going to be that. I did not expect it to be a fantasy football question or something that kind of had some realistic sports background to it.
I'll let you think about it, but How's your fantasy team started? Obviously, I'm pissed because I lost to Adam 100-85, and it was a very close contest, evenly matched. Both of our teams performed pretty well, but unfortunately, he had the outlier. He had Stephon Diggs, who 29.
Oh, I had a huge week. Well, I had him too, by the way, in both leagues that I'm in, so sorry.
So, yeah.
Go cry a little bit, Doc.
I got affected by that. I didn't leave anybody in the bench that performed well. Adam did. He left Matt Ryan on the bench, and he did significantly better than his quarterback, Nick Foles. So he made the biggest mistake of the week, but he won because of the fact that he had an outlier performance by Stephon Diggs. That's the luck of the game. That's why fantasy football is fun and is appealing. So right now I sit at 1-1, but I'm in a good league. The entire league, Vito, is 1-1. My wife is 2-0. And
look at her. She knows more sports than you.
Yeah.
She should be on here talking fantasy football. She knows more about that than you, obviously.
Let's dial her up and just give her credit real fast.
Ask her, let's just talk to her about it.
Let's just give her credit real fast and tell her how awesome it is that she is 2-0 in the league. And
I hope
really
to God that she answers the phone for you, by the way.
You think she'll answer?
Well, I hope to God she does for your sake.
We'll see if she picks up the phone. But, yeah, she's 2-0 in the league, so it's really cool to see her do well. She's the only one that's 2-0. One person's 0-2, and the rest of the league is doing well. So.
And by the way, the guy really quick that left the voicemail is 2-0 in my league that I'm in with him. Dom Rana, as I love to call him. He's Dominic Reyna. Anyways, here we go. Waiting for your wife. Will it happen?
You think she'll pick up?
I hope to God.
I've reached the voicemail
No.
of 58667.
We'll leave a
You
voicemail
just
for her.
forget you, man.
747. At the tone, please record your voice message.
Oh.
Hey, honey, I just wanted to call you up from the podcast. We are recording. Me and Vito just wanted to give you props, being that you are the only team that is 2-0 in our league. I looked across the standings, and everybody's 1-1. Henry's 0-2, and you, my dear, are 2-0 with the great pickup of Ryan Fitzpatrick, the pickup of the week.
Magic, baby. Congratulations, Andrea, by the way.
Thank you very, very much.
You know more than Doc, obviously. I told him I think she should be on here talking fantasy football and sports. You should replace him on this podcast.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm more knowledgeable of the right moves to make. John, what's your score?
I'm 1-1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she knew that, and she asked. I like that. She set you up there. That was good.
Okay, honey, we just wanted to give you props. Goodbye.
You hang up right on her. I love that.
So,
wow. That's how you did your wife there. Look at that. Did her dirty.
I give her credit on the podcast. She's 2-0. And how was your fantasy team doing? I mean, how was the first week? I won my first week. I played a team that I drafted, so that was cool. I picked up Patrick Mahomes for this guy. We set a rule.
And now he's been killing it. You thought he wouldn't do anything. You thought it was a crummy move, right, for that team.
And I picked him in the 4th round for this guy. So
wow, okay.
But now he had 10 touchdowns, so he's 1-1 as well.
He's killing it. It was coming back to bite you, to spite you. I like that there. Well, I'm 1-1 in the league with the caller that left the voicemail, Dominic Grana. Big shout out to him once again for leaving that voicemail all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, as he said. And a big shout out to Bobby, as he said as well at the very end of the call. Let me give a shout out to him. He's not listening. But anyways, in my other league, 2-0. So 2-0 in the one league, 1-1 in the other league, 1-1 in the league with Nick Schmiegel. He's the commissioner of that league, running it erroneously as usual. No. He's done a good job as commish, and his team isn't doing very well. Is one of the lowest teams in points this season in our league, at least up to this point through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. And my team's looking good, man. I'm number 1 in points. Dominic Reyna has the number 1 seed. I'm number 2 seed at 1-1 based on points because everybody pretty much is stacked up at 1-1 in the league with Nick Schmiegel as a commissioner. So a lot of parity in my league, and I'm 1-1 in that league, 2-0 in this other league with a bunch of De La Salle dudes.
All right, Vito, on this podcast, we got a lot to get to. I mean, a player quit in the middle of a game. It sparked a lot of debate regarding football. Should somebody just do that? Should he have waited out? Should this player have waited at least until the end of the game? Should he maybe not have even signed with the team? We'll talk about that in the second half of the podcast, and we'll talk about maybe an indecent proposal that you want to propose. I'm not sure exactly what you're offering.
If you allow it to happen, yes.
So to start this podcast, something came across the wire earlier today, and it has sparked a little bit of debate regarding how the NFL treats its older players. Now, it's kind of started off with Terrell Owens not attending the Hall of Fame at all, and he talked about the writers, and he talked about how he wanted to make it special for him. He wanted to do it on his own terms. But now what has happened is a letter has been distributed and released to the media that says that Hall of Fame players might, in the future, in terms of the NFL Hall of Fame ceremony, not attend. They will boycott. So they're kind of setting an ultimatum, saying, look, if the NFL doesn't guarantee us a yearly salary, health insurance, because of the fact that these Hall of Famers grew the game and they sacrificed their bodies, if we don't get these demands met, we will boycott the Hall of Fame ceremony. And here's my take on it. I'm totally disgusted. I'm totally anti this. And here's why. Okay? Now, when you compare leagues, obviously the NFL players are getting screwed because the Major League Baseball Union has set up a pension. They set up a lot better services for their league. So I definitely am all in favor of current athletes definitely fighting for more rights with their union. Okay, but now here's the situation. Okay, back in the day, if you were a Hall of Famer and you weren't making that much money, you knew going into it what the salary was going to be. Okay, you knew you were going to play football. Nobody forced you to play football. Nobody said you must join this league. You were not drafted out of high school if you wanted to be an electrician, and nobody came and yanked you from your class and said, no, you have to play in the NFL. You chose to do this, okay? And now what happens is, typically in this era, with the era of Eric Dickerson, Jerry Rice, Hall of Famers tend to be better players, right, Vito? So that would indicate a higher level of pay. Okay, and so what I don't like is when you go back and try to renegotiate stuff that's already happened. Okay, meaning if you recognize, Vito, I took the risk at this network. Okay, I bought the gear, I came up with the idea, and so I grew this pretty much with the help of you and everybody else. But you would assume that I'm compensated a little bit more than everybody else. Okay, I took the risk. I'm the owner. Now, if you leave here and all of a sudden 5 years from now, you're like, oh man, what did Doc actually bring in? Let me go look into that. I want more. Like, no, we negotiated a price. What you earn is based upon what you go and bring into the network. And it's a strict percentage of what you bring in. So that's the deal. But now if you go and leave here and you're like, oh man, I didn't get enough of a cut. I should have got 70%. Others got more, da-da-da. Well, Vito, you negotiated it. You agreed to come to this office and do the work for the pay that was agreed upon. Same thing here with these players. Look, It's not the responsibility of the NFL to take care of guys that are retired. It's not, especially when you're talking about the modern era where we're talking about millions per season. You can't set aside, when you're talking about, let's say on average, if you make $1 million a year, do you know how much money that is? You can't get sympathy from a lot of people, because if you just take $30,000 a year of that $1 million and set it aside and get 7% on your money, you can figure it out how much you can live on. That's more than enough to live. Now, you can say, well, the bills are extraordinary, CTE, da-da-da-da-da. Well, you chose to play a violent sport that anybody going into it could assume, hey, if I bang my body into another man's body for the course of a decade, I might not walk out okay. And so you better invest some of your money in health insurance, taking care of your body, being smart. And so I just don't agree with these players holding up the league. And so if these players don't want to show up, fine. We'll do a ceremony and produce it without you. We don't need these 2-hour-long speeches to have a show. We will highlight you. We will have a panel of experts talk about your career, and we'll keep it moving. We'll probably save some money. So I'm totally against these players holding up the league. I feel like there has to be personal responsibility for people to honor their contracts and realize, look, the league took care of you. You got money. Now, the older veterans, you say, okay, you know what? You're hurting and things like that. I could argue that if you want to concede, I'm against giving them a salary. I'm against giving them this ability to kind of hold us up. But I could make a concession and say increased health insurance, full coverage could be something that could be addressed as well. But, Vito, again, it costs a huge amount of money. Now, the league's making a bunch of money, but most of the time, it's just the way it is that when there is a huge amount of profits, the majority of the profits go to the owners. They took the risk. They put the money up for a team. So
the owners took the risk? Well, you said the players took the risk. Now, they knew kind of going into it when they signed contracts.
The financial
They knew
risk.
the language in terms of the contract. Now, I don't like that they're boycotting, showing up to the Hall of Fame ceremony for next season because of the fact that they want to get health insurance and salaries for themselves only for Hall of Famers, for themselves. They're looking out for the best interest of themselves, and that's it. I don't like that aspect of it. But what they fought through and went through, all the injuries, right, and big hits, I would say, well, they deserve some health insurance. They deserve something. Definitely deserve something when it comes to health insurance. I don't know what they should receive, if it should be full health insurance. But guess what? They should receive something, and I think the NFL will have to do something about this too to avoid some huge PR backlash, because if they have a huge amount of these Hall of Famers not showing up for next year's ceremony, it still is a PR nightmare. As much as, they can still go on with the ceremony and still have the inductees for next year's class showing up and, being there to get their busts and, to get enshrined and whatnot. Guess what? To not have the past Hall of Famers there that were enshrined as part of past Hall of Fame classes, that would look bad for the NFL. I really do believe that. And I think the NFL should concede and give the players of the past that were enshrined in past Hall of Fame classes some sort of health insurance. They deserve that much, because guess what? It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. You mean they can't pay out of their own pockets, the owners, that is, and the NFL as a whole? Maybe take some of Commissioner Roger Goodell's albatross of a contract that he's making as commissioner and give that to these players that have played in the past that are Hall of Famers, that have made the game as great as it is today? Because remember, the players out on the field are making the NFL what it is and have made it what it is today. It's not the owners that have made the NFL the glorious and great product that it is today. It's the players making those stellar plays, making those catches, scoring those touchdowns, making those sacks, making those huge impact hits out there on the field. It's not the owners that are sitting in the warm confines of their suite at their home field. I mean,
what do you think will
that's
happen?
easy for them. They don't have to go through any pain and any suffering out on the field because they're in their comfy confines in their owner's suite. So I don't feel bad for them, and they should be giving some money to these past Hall of Famers. These past Hall of Famers deserve that much at least. And I'm saying specifically some sort of health insurance should be provided, I think, to these past Hall of Famers, Doc.
Do you think that's what will happen? How do you think the league will respond to this letter threatening a boycott of the ceremony? Because that's kind of a power move. Ultimatums typically don't work. Just negotiate. And I do think it's kind of a power move. One intended to make some noise and one intended to get some money. And I don't like that kind of thing. I understand, but in this day and age, maybe would you say that They need to go through the union and try to advocate for better rights for their players, because obviously the NFL union is not the strongest of the major pro teams. I mean, they don't even have guaranteed contracts. It's starting to move in that direction with the quarterbacks.
Yeah, more and more guaranteed money being given out in these contracts. You're right.
But it's important, too, to preach financial responsibility and to also maybe look out, like you said, for the interest of everybody else. But in this day and age, at least a modern athlete, when you're making $1 million a year, if you make it for 3 years, that should be enough at least to get you, in a situation where if you live comfortably. I mean, there was a former Detroit Lion that has just created a great real estate business. He only lived on $30,000. I think he said he lived on $60,000 a year on his salary and then saved the rest of it and then built up a burgeoning real estate business. That should be preached. That should be what these NFL athletes strive for, not to retire and then hit up the league again for more money, because it's going to be
You're
a battle.
saying it should be done. These guys should be cut out pretty much of the NFL's will. Out of the will of the NFL, the Players Association, Commissioner Goodell, all these owners should keep the money for themselves. All the profits they're making as a league.
What they should do is go talk to the union about
so the Players Association, DeMaurice Smith.
Instill a pension for these athletes. Maybe set aside some money where you forcibly deduct a couple $1,000s a month or a check, and put it aside for these guys to retire or invest it for them. I mean, that's fine if you want to do that, but when you're making, $1 million, $2 million a year, you have to also preach responsibility and kind of figure it out yourself too, because the league should not have to coddle grown men. They pay them for a service. The service is taken care of, and it is it goes back to the relationship between boss and employee, and it's just the way it always is, and everything kind of boils down to it, where the employee is always going to think, I should be getting more of a share. Well, the boss will then come back and say, hey, did you invest the time? Did you invest your hard-earned money? Did you take the risk of buying the equipment and putting the time in and paying for this office, Vito? You know how much this office is a month? I got to pay it. So the time that's spent here that's not bringing in a generated income.
But you think the players feel bad for the owners when they say, I'm paying for all of this for you guys, when they have these deep pocketbooks, have all this money. Like even you think I'm going to feel bad when I'm not making a ton of money and other people aren't? Okay, under their boss, and their boss is reaping the benefits of big incomes and a big house.
Vito, we're not talking about feeling bad. We're talking about relating and understanding that, Vito, okay, just because an owner has deep pockets, do you think an owner is not also at risk to losing all that money? You must continue that income.
Once again, do the players think about that? And maybe it boils down to the relationship where they don't really care about each other, right? The owners and employees don't really care about each other, which I get. So then why do the players care about that? Oh, the owner might lose everything. And how has he treated me in the past? And where's my health insurance now that I've gone through maybe CTE or catastrophic injuries that prevent me from being able to walk?
Great point, Vito.
Right?
And now you're going to get
that.
Now you're going to get an education in business. In business, Vito, that kind of talk is irrelevant. There's no feelings. It's about these players in a business sense, okay? Not a moral sense, not a feeling sense, because obviously they're people, they're humans with families.
Yeah, and do the owners care about them? No.
Yes, they do.
To a large degree, they don't. They don't. To a large degree. Not every single owner, no.
I disagree.
Not Robert Kraft, the Robert Krafts of the world, those kind of guys, they care about their players.
I disagree. Okay. You're assuming based upon your
report stories I've heard.
No.
There's been stuff out there Vito, about the owners not caring about their players, and you know that too.
But Vito, there are some things that players do that makes it so that you don't care. I mean, when you don't show up to work on time, when you're bringing a bad name to your organization, it's going to make it hard for a team to care about you.
Well, those guys are divas. Like Le'Veon Bell, he's a diva. Antonio Brown, he's a diva. There are diva players too.
But by and large, when an owner commits to paying a player that much money and then pay taxes on it and things like that, they care. But here's the thing that is super important is that, and it's hard to hear too, in that a owner views a player as a liability. Okay, a player is not really an asset. Now, some players like a Khalil Mack is an asset. You pay him, $90 million. You know that you're going to get $200 million in jersey sales in the next 10 years if he produces. That's an asset. But by and large, most of these guys, $500,000, $1.2 million, in that range, they're viewed as liabilities. Okay, because in business, anything that you pay out against your business is a liability. Anything that brings money, attendance, concessions, TV revenue, that's all assets. And that's all you try to do is to raise up as much assets as you can and limit your liability. That's all I do here. You know what I mean? Obviously, I care about you. But at the same time, I also look at it and say, if potentially, Lexington Dom or whoever it is, somebody comes in here and says, hey, I can bring in potentially this much money in sponsors, I'll give them a show.
Yeah.
Seriously. And that's the way it is because the assets go up and the liabilities go down. So that's how a business is run. And so in a business, Vito, you can't just say, well, tack on $300 million in costs here and another $500 million costs there. That's going to raise some eyebrows.
The players and employees will say that. And I won't say that. You know why? Because they don't care about We know the owners have deep pocketbooks. We know you have a deep pocketbook. You have a huge income.
Vito,
Think we care about you losing $300 million when you're making $2 billion?
But Vito, you don't understand.
You're doing fine. You're thriving. You're successful.
Vito,
You'll be all right at the end of the day.
you're not
That's how
getting
players and employees, but that's how employees will view it.
Yeah, but,
as an employer, it's
but
different.
that's wrong.
I know.
That's wrong because when you look at it, you go, you have to sustain that $2 billion a year, and you don't sustain that by tacking on big bills. See, that's the part people don't understand. It's like, oh, you got $2 billion, right? But you got to pay on it. You got stuff you got to think.
Oh, let me get the tissue out for the owners. But I'm not going to care. If that guy feels bad, he has to pay $3 million more, $300 million more. I don't feel bad. It's my point. And employees, those NFL players, that's why they're doing all this right now, because they don't feel bad for the owners. They know they have deep pocketbooks and they have money to be able to do this.
If you don't care, then you're going to be the one begging. That's just the way it is. You have to also understand.
Well, I'm not the one that begs for more money. I don't really ever ask.
No.
Which I probably could from this guy or that guy. I don't do that. I don't go cry.
These NFL players have gone about this the wrong way, and I think that's not going to – I think that it's going to be a battle, and they might just get shot down completely. I don't know if they continue to do it this way, that there'll be any concessions, but it'll be interesting to see. But I would say for the NFL athletes currently, you should definitely build a bridge with your union and work to get more. And obviously, the owners will work to protect their interest as well. And the interest of an owner, all I could say is, Vito, when you have the experience of being an owner, you'll get what I'm saying. You'll understand that, oh man, I made this much money. I could have made that much more had I not bought this, or had I not done that, or had I not put this much money into this thing. I could have put more money in my pocket. And that's the name of business. There's only one goal. It's not feelings. It's not relationships. It's what's the biggest number.
Yeah, making money.
That's the goal.
That's the end all be all. The bottom line always is making as much money.
All these guys know it is how much can I keep in my pocket? How much can I bring in? And if there are actual owners, Vito, and it's crazy to think about because I've talked to these people. It's crazy to think about if somebody makes $40 million a year and they knew they messed up a deal that could have brought them an extra $6 million, they're pissed.
Sure.
And me and you will sit there and go, you made $40 million. And they'll go, yeah, but I could have made 46. And you'll be like, you made $40 million. And they go, I could have made 46. And I messed up a deal, and they're pissed. And they think about that lost $6 million way more than they think about the money that they made. And that's the mindset you got to get into is more. And that's how you become the most successful business person, is to maximize your profits and think that way. That's how you got to think.
How much can I be cheap and keep making money?
Hey,
that's
the name of the game.
Businessman's mentality and owner's mentality. Now, wanted to bring up this really quick about this. The letter goes on, this letter about these players wanting to get some health insurance and an annual salary. The letter says that MLB players, even those who only appear on a major league roster for one day, are guaranteed health insurance for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
The total cost for every Hall of Famer to have health insurance is less than $4 million, less than that of a 30-second Super Bowl ad, or about 3 cents for every $100 the league generates in revenue. And generates in revenue off of these players and their likeness, their jersey, the jersey sales.
So
think about that, too, how much money they're making off of these players, right? And they're pocketing all of that, the owners, right? They're pocketing a lot of money from these players.
So from Vito and Doc, the moral of the story is this. If you're a young athlete and you want to go play football, take that football out of your hands and go play baseball.
Go play something else. I mean, if you're athletic enough, go play baseball, really.
Go play baseball.
Yeah. If you don't want to hear these guys cry, which you don't, a lot of people I know don't. I'm like, the exception to the rule. Well, then go play something else, right? And let's advocate for these guys to go play baseball where you have the guaranteed money you make as part of your contract.
And the money is good. The living is good.
Good money to live on, right?
Play 6 months a year, good lifestyle, good travel. I would say it's pretty tough to sell anyone to play football. It's a violent sport. You could end up with a brain disease.
Right.
You could end up with dementia. The owners want all the money.
Sure.
What's the advantage of playing football? Really, in the end, that's why Adam and I, a couple years back said the viability of the league, if they don't turn it around, is going to be suspect. And when some of the players started retiring at like 25 and 26, it's eye-opening. But I do think that young athletes are gravitating a little bit more towards other sports because, parents are not wanting their kids to play football, not wanting to enroll them in youth football and things like that. But man, when you hear stories like this, I just don't like the method in which these Hall of Famers try to go about getting more money. Go to the union, try and figure it out.
Go to your NFLPA head, DeMaurice Smith. Now, okay, so I think they should get something, but how about these Major League Baseball players really quick? Getting guaranteed health insurance for the rest of their lives for being on a Major League roster for one day? Now, I don't like that. So I just complain about the players not receiving enough in the NFL. The Major League Baseball players are receiving too much for being on a Major League roster for one day, and they get guaranteed health insurance for the rest of their lives? Now, I don't like that either.
Now, Vito, let's turn to a more romantic note. Do you watch the Emmys?
Did a little bit.
What did you think of this?
Michael Shea, Colin Jost,
they
co-host,
hosted it, yeah.
SNL Weekend Update anchors.
But the moment that everyone's talking about is this. It's really sweet and kind of inspiring.
I did actually watch this live. You can play it.
Sunshine in my life.
Oh.
And Mom was right. Don't ever let go of your sunshine.
Don't ever let go of your sunshine.
You wonder why I don't like to call you my girlfriend? Because I want to call you my wife.
got me, baby. I'm signing up for that.
What a sweet moment. So
It was a sweet moment.
So Glenn Weiss took a moment to surprise the audience, and he proposed to his girlfriend on national TV. The moment, though, that I really liked was he gave her the ring that his dad had given his mom, and his mom had passed a couple weeks back, and it was such a great moment. It produced a great GIF, and a really lovely, touching moment, one that makes you, sometimes when we talk about the tough ills of the world, kind of step back and go, how sweet this man is to do it that way. So the point I just want to ask you is, maybe one day you find Mrs. Vito, and she's awesome, and she's doing great. Do you do it on a podcast? Do you do it in a big forum? Do you go, you know what? I'm in the press box. It's the World Series. The Tigers are, maybe up 3-0, and you just kind of show around. They're going to lose. They're
4
down,
games at 3.
They're down
gonna
3
lose
games
in 7
to none.
games. Yeah. No, they're up 3 games to none. They're going to blow the series.
Do you take her to the press box? Do you do it in a grand fashion? Do you think that it's cool to do something as personal as that in such a large fashion? Would you ever consider doing it that way? And if so, what would you do?
How sweet it is to be loved by you. I thought of that when you said about how sweet that was. He upstaged everybody, by the way, at the Emmys with that. I mean, nobody else had a chance now of gaining any kind of acclaim, and with their acceptance speech, it was a beautiful moment. And what I laughed at, too, is that he gave her the ring before he even got on one knee and proposed.
Yeah.
He just gave her the ring. So I guess he knew her answer was yes, and she had said yes before he even proposed. Because he said, to the audience and to her at one point before she came up on the stage for the official proposal, I didn't even propose to you yet. He had said that because everybody thought, well, he did, and she said yes, so everybody just assumed it was already over. Well, no. Then it happened. It was a beautiful scene. The best moment of the Emmys this year. And would I do it somewhere like in a press box or on the field of Comerica Park? I would think about it, but only if my woman was there and wanted to actually be there and liked the Tigers too and would get something out of it. If not, I wouldn't do that to her. Expose her to the audience, make her go to a Tigers game when she's not a big Tigers fan and have to wait all that time and be there. I would do it somewhere where she would want to do it.
Okay, Vito, before we get to the second half of the podcast, I just want to thank everybody that supports us. Free and easy way to support us is go to check out DetroitSportsPodcast.com. And also thank you to the fine sponsors that work with us like Podomatic, the Detroit Sports Commission, Top Cat Sales, the Breaking Down the Ring podcast. Everybody that works with us is really awesome, and it makes it fun to be able to do these podcasts when you have support from the likes of Tap and Barrel Grill, all the people that contribute to us. Thank you so much for those that contribute to the podcast, and definitely those that work with us in terms of trading retweets, sharing each other's projects. Really fun stuff. Again, free and easy way to support us. Check out our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Check out anywhere you can find podcasts. And if you're considering starting a brand new project, we would recommend that you go to Podomatic.com.
And Doc, for all of your sports apparel, any kind of apparel for your sports team or your business, look no further than Top Cat Sales as well. And you can call up Top Cat Sales Monday through Friday for all of your apparel needs at 248-246-1054.
Top Cat Sales, the official outfitter of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. We take our jacket, and I definitely enjoy rocking the Top Cat Sales jackets and representing Detroit Sports Podcast. Thank you again to all the sponsors that work with us. It definitely makes it worthwhile to do this project. All right, Vito, a couple quick hitters before we get to the major topic of Vontae Davis retiring. You and I both found it difficult this week, as we talked about on the Motor City Sports Rant, to watch the Lions. And we kind of talked about, hey, do we still want to watch the Lions every week? I mean, Sunday nights, Sunday afternoons. Do we want to invest 3.5 hours, 4 hours sometimes to watch the Lions? And so you had a proposal, and you said, well, if I don't watch the Lions, maybe I have some ideas of stuff I could do. So kind of convince me, if I don't watch the Lions, what should I replace my 4 hours on a Sunday with? Should I pick another team? I can't. I find it hard to kind of have a B team. I've never had a B team, but I'm thinking maybe just a week off. And I told you on Monday that I was thinking about maybe working a little bit more on Sundays, taking a couple clients just before the game and maybe only watching a half. I'm addicted. I like the Lions. I like football. There's only 16 games a year, but maybe just a week break to kind of reset the scene. The bye week can't get here fast enough to kind of give us a break from football. But what could we do other than watching the Lions if a Sunday rolls around?
Well, watching the Lions for a full game, especially, is a bad addiction. You better beat it. What I would do is pick my nose for 4 straight hours, take a long nap, watch curling, watch paint dry. I would like to do so many other things and watch the Lions on a Sunday afternoon for 3.5, 4 straight hours. That is nonsense to me. It's totally illogical, makes no sense, it's impractical, because the Lions don't give us anything to work with. They tease us, and then they lose in the end. They might make it close, might make the game close in the fourth quarter. then they lose a game anyway, so why are we watching? We're watching to see the Lions lose, and lose a lot more than they win this season, especially with Matt Patricia first year as head coach. They're trying to revamp the team, overhaul the roster, it looks like, and get rid of these veterans, and the veterans don't want to play for Matty Patty. So what are they going to win? 6 games? 7 games maybe? We're watching the Lions every single Sunday for 7 wins? That's what we want to get and are watching the Lions for? I mean, God, that's just god-awful to me. If your expectations are going into every single Sunday to see the Lions make it close, but probably they're going to lose, and probably they're going to win 7 games. What does that mean about you? Well, it means that you're an illogical, impractical person, nonsensical person, because I'm not going to waste my time watching every single Lions game and then see them win 7 games, maybe only 6 games. It's not for me every single Sunday during the NFL season, Doc.
Well, maybe some NFL athletes are taking notice and are like, you know what, let's be like Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown on Monday of this week didn't show up for work. Just didn't come. He called in.
Wait, is it voluntary not to show up for work? I don't like that. I don't advocate that. And I brought up AB before in this podcast about him being a diva. Him and Le'Veon Bell, man, are huge divas. And what they're doing, not showing up, I don't like that. I don't stand for that at all.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Anything else you could suggest I do besides picking my nose, Vito? That's not entertaining. I mean,
No,
I
there's
could
something else.
maybe go to the bar and drink and watch another team. Maybe just also maybe get the direct TV package. A lot of people watch the Red Zone where you can watch all the other touchdowns and maybe de-emphasize the Lions. See, I can't do that. I know I'm a glutton for punishment. And the good thing is,
De-emphasize. Stop watching. Get out of the bad habit.
all right, Vito. And then you had said that for some reason, you know, at your young age, because we've, you know, anybody in their mid-30s and up has seen the movie Indecent Proposal. Why on earth are you coming to me with an indecent proposal asking me if I'd allow someone to sleep with my wife for $1 million? Why did this come to your head? Why did you put this on a text to me? Why?
Well, maybe because your wife is now 2-0 in your league and you're 1-1, maybe you will let her sleep with somebody else because you're not happy with her right now. But this was a conversation piece recently at a place of employment, and that's all I'll say. I've never watched the movie Indecent Proposal, but I have heard about the movie.
My owner alert went up. You were working on the clock.
What's on the clock?
Were you at?
No, but
were you
the
on lunch?
owner was talking about
Okay,
this. So
okay.
the owner, the big
Okay.
hoss, big boss, big
boss.
wig.
The big
so
wig,
it wasn't
okay.
me and some buddies or colleagues just talking about this while I was on the clock.
Okay.
So remember that too.
You weren't taking advantage of the boss. Okay,
No, I wasn't
very good.
taking advantage of quality work time where I could have been working hard on a project or an assignment. So that wasn't the case, but it was at a place of employment for myself where this topic was brought up, was out in the open, and maybe it could be an HR violation somewhere else. I know that. But I thought it was a very intriguing topic, one to pose to you. Would you allow your wife, because you are married to a woman, Andrea, would you allow her to sleep with somebody else if you knew you could receive in return $1 million? Is that a big enough price tag for you to allow your wife to sleep with somebody else? Or would it have to be for more money, or would you just never do it?
No, I couldn't do it, man. That's
So there's no
way.
price. If I said
No.
$10 million, $100 million, how about $100 million? Would you allow your wife to sleep with somebody else if you knew you could get that in return for allowing your wife to sleep with that other man or a woman?
No.
Hell no.
Nothing,
So flat
no.
out no for you. No money. No price tag could do it for you is what you're telling me right now.
Yeah, exactly. No, not at all. I
Okay.
could never, ever, ever, ever do it. We joke around. Obviously, it's a talking point. The movie Indecent Proposal, as it shakes out, he does allow the Woody Harrelson character allows Demi Moore to sleep with Robert Redford,
Yeah.
but he can't get over it.
And then
it
their
breaks them apart.
marriage is never the same, right? So
Never
it
the
could
same.
break apart your marriage and ruin your family and your life forever. Now, how about Vontae Davis? Transition here to him retiring at halftime. This Bills cornerback used to be really good, play with the Colts, long NFL career. Then he decides to retire at halftime of the Bills game this past Sunday. Really? What did you think of that happening as he's ruining his NFL, whatever kind of NFL legacy he had and reputation he had amongst his peers in the NFL? He's ruining that. It's gone right out the door because of him retiring at halftime.
What an interesting story. It has kind of sparked debates in terms of, look, does he get a pass because football is a tough sport and he didn't want to risk injury? But obviously what could have happened was, look, you just go to a trainer and say, my hammy's really tight, I can't get back out there, and stay on the field with your team. That's probably what I would advise. Don't go back on the field if you don't think you can handle it, obviously. But to just, go out there at halftime, you're getting blown out, your teammates are battling, and they're still going to be out there going through a game, to just take off your gear, put on street clothes, and leave. Now, the mindset of an NFL athlete, obviously with all the hits and things like that, if you don't feel like you should play, obviously don't sign. But at that moment, when you get that rush of emotion, I can understand sometimes maybe doing it, but I would have never done it that way. If I'm really seriously thinking about, I can't do this anymore, I'm going to fake an injury, I'm going to lie, and I'm going to say, I just can't go back out there, my toe, stand on the sideline. At the end of the day, then you go to the meetings on Monday and Tuesday and say, look, guys, I'm sorry. I signed up with the intention of going through it, but my heart's not in it. I'm really sorry. You do it behind closed doors, but to do it like this is so anti what the NFL stands for. And so he we don't have to say, and call him out. His teammates did. They said, I lost respect for him as a man. I don't think that I've never seen anything like this. This is something that is a quitter would do. So he's taking it from his peers as he should.
Well, it's anti-team. It's making him look like he's not a team player. And you're more worried about yourself and your best interests than the best interests of your team. And not a good look for this guy. Vontae Davis hurts his reputation hugely, and his peers, his teammates with the Bills, were saying stuff about him already and just slamming him for doing this. And if anything, you fake an injury, you sit on the sideline like you said, or you quit after the game's over. Retire when the game concludes, not during the middle of the game. When you do that, it looks like you're not a team player, and it hurts your reputation hugely. And I would have never handled my situation like this. If even I felt like mentally, physically, one of the two, both, that I wasn't fit for the game anymore, guess what? I would have waited until the game was over at least, and by him calling it quits at halftime, it makes him look like a quitter.
Obviously, I can't believe he did it. It was a shocking story, but you give him a little bit of a pass, and aren't you surprised? And we all thought it, being Lions fans. I'm surprised the line hasn't done that,
Well, as a Lions player, maybe I would have already done it. Look at that laughing stock of a franchise. It's never going to go anywhere.
Oh, Vito, come on, have a little faith. Maybe in the next decade, I think in your 30s, maybe there's a small window for the Lions to have some success. Don't be a hater.
Or when I'm 50 or 60 or 70, or maybe when I'm not around anymore. Who the heck knows? But I don't imagine them winning anytime soon. And they have a franchise passer, supposedly, and they still can't win. I mean, how much does that say about the Lions, and how bad does it look, and I guess to say about the Lions when they can't win with a franchise passer?
Yeah, it's an unbelievable situation in which the Lions and their track record. I mean, people are doing documentaries. It's just something where people more and more, especially now this week, national TV audience, if you get embarrassed by the New England Patriots, especially if the fans are rough and rowdy and booing all the time, oh boy, it's going to be a nightmare. And I think more and more people are going to continue to talk about the Lions and Browns as being the inept franchises that they are. It sucks to talk about it in that terms, but I'm not quitting. I'm not walking out on the Lions. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break from the Detroit Lions and maybe
you should finally beat the addiction.
No.
Or start it slowly.
Yeah.
Getting off of your and kicking your bad habit of watching the Lions.
DVR. Watch the wins and critically analyze the losses. The best way to do it, right?
And we should still bash the Lions. We should bash, you know what, we're a Cleveland Browns fan. We be bashing the Browns, right? The mistake by the lake, is that what they say over there? But the Lions situation screams of ineptitude. It's ineptitude with the Lions, with the Browns. They're laughing stocks. And the Browns have come close to winning. They've looked better than the Lions. I'm telling you the truth. The Browns, who have tied at least a game, week 1 against the Steelers, that was bad for the Steelers, but they've looked completely better than the Lions. How bad is that? Look for the Lions when that's the case too, Doc, because that really is the truth right now through the first 2 weeks of the 2018 NFL campaign.
What are you doing Sunday night? How are you going to watch the game?
Sunday night, not watching the Lions game. No, I'll watch some of it, actually. I will have to give it and watch some of the game because it's Sunday Night Football, and I have nothing better to do. And it's the Patriots, national TV. I'll give my time to some of the game. Not the whole entire game, more than likely. At least I'm not going to be watching the game intently the whole entire time. But I'll be watching it from my home, the Delta Resort, as I like to call it. And
Delta
that's my
Resort.
plan for Sunday. How about you?
I'm going to probably hang out with fellas, watch the game, enjoy it, and hopefully...
Drink a cerveza or two maybe while you're at it?
Couple
on a Sunday
cervezas,
night?
relax, tweet,
Yeah?
enjoy the game, live tweet. And
I know you'll be tweeting.
Yes,
There's no
sir.
doubt regarding that.
Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. You can follow the show at Two Bad Hombres. You can follow Vito at Vito Jerome. If anything that you've heard causes a reaction, definitely feel free to tweet us anytime. Get yourself over. We retweet all the stuff. Get it heard by the masses. If you are really upset and you're so inclined, leave us a voicemail, 248-579-8686. It is available 24 hours to vent about anything in the world of Detroit sports or anything content related to the network. 248-579-8686. We will play it, and it could be heard worldwide.
Leave a voicemail. Come at me. Call me out. I want it. I desire it. And follow me at Vito Jerome. Follow Top Cat Sales, by the way, at Team Top Cat, our fine sponsor of this Two Bad Hombres episode. And also follow the podcast network at Detroit Podcast.
See everybody next weekend. You've listened to Two Bad Hombres.
Adios.